from Hue, Vietnam. I'm Leslie.
And I'm Jason.
We retired early to pursue our love of travel, and we use this channel as a video diary of our travels. We have been in Hue for this is our 4th day, and we are leaving today to go to Hoi An. So we're just going to review our last almost week of travel and talk about what we've done and some of the excitement we've had this week. So I'll start with our travel day from where did we travel from? Phnom Penh to Da Nang. No, yes. But we had a layover in Ho Chi Minh City, which we were kind of worried about. We were worried about immigration. We had read like all these horror stories that it took forever and you need fast track. And we debated whether we were going to spend like $60 for fast track. And we went back and forth, and we didn't. I figured I'd be mad either way if I did or didn't. So
we also had like 4 hours.
Yeah, a layover of like 4 hours. So we decided not to.
Because we'd be standing in line or sitting. So
Yeah.
it didn't matter.
And some people said you go through immigration quickly, but then you have to wait for your bag. So we didn't do it.
And of course, the more you read about it or look it up, the more negative
Yeah.
you're going to see. So
Yeah, because normally you're mad when you're commenting. So we did not do it. Immigration
it's fine.
probably took 30 minutes.
Yeah, it was a line, but it wasn't that long.
I think we beat a few planes, so it may have taken up to maybe an hour.
Yeah, there were a lot of people behind us, I guess.
But other than that,
and we still had to wait on our luggage also for a while, didn't we?
it was sitting there.
Oh, okay.
Was it?
I can't remember.
I think it was sitting there. I think it was off the baggage claim.
I guess I'm thinking of when we got to Da Nang.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that went really smoothly. And in the meantime, as we're at the airport, I got an email that our next flight was delayed. So we, instead of like 3 or 4 hours, it was 4 or 5 hours. So we get to Ho Chi Minh, and then our flight keeps getting delayed. And the airport really didn't have a lot of facilities.
Burger King.
Yeah, like we had to go out of the international, and there was a bunch of stuff in that area, but then we went back into the domestic.
They actually leaked the airport.
Yeah, we checked out, but we had a little sticker
went outside
on here, you can see it.
Yeah.
So we had to, when we went back through, we didn't have to go through like the main check-in. We went through like a secondary screening, but not the big line that everybody else went through. But then you got to the terminal, and there wasn't much.
Yeah, bus ride to the Terminal 3.
Yeah.
And then,
Food options were,
I mean, there were options.
limited.
It just may not have been what we choose.
so we chose Burger King. I chose Burger King, and it was not,
Newsflash.
it didn't taste the same.
It wasn't.
So,
I thought it was pretty good.
well, you got to eat mine and yours.
Yeah.
So I think our plane ended up being like, was it 5 or 6 hour layover? I don't know, whatever it was.
It was a long time.
It was a 14-hour travel day, I think. And we had 2 flights. One was an hour and one was maybe an hour and a half. Something like that.
I would guess less, but yeah.
So a very long day. We got to our hotel in Da Nang at like maybe 11:30. It was kind of late. The hotel was really nice. We ate chips out of the mini bar, and of course you're like, how much is it?
It's cheap.
We ate chips. I had a Sprite, and I think it was $3 out of the mini bar.
Yeah.
So we got up. I needed to get money. We didn't get money at the airport, but it was Sunday, and the first ATM rejected my card because it only took certain, like, Vietnam cards, and a card if it was branded a certain way. The next one we looked at only took Vietnam cards. We did finally find an ATM. That worked well. Of course, they give you big bills, so that was an issue. So I just went back, finished packing, and then we went to the train station. So we couldn't check out later than 1, but we really didn't need to be at the station until like 2. But we went anyway because I had looked at the train station reviews. It said there's plenty of seating. We get there and it's no seating. So we were outside. We found like a little planter we could sit on with our bags. But after like 30 minutes, we could get into the seating area. And then our train boarded like 30 minutes prior to departure. But then it departed late. But, I mean, that was fine. The train is like the upgraded tourist train. And we almost did ride the regular train, but I couldn't get the site to sell me tickets. But I can't imagine the non-upgraded train.
It might have been about the same, really.
I mean, it's probably from like the 70s or 80s.
I guess, I don't know. It seemed kind of old.
And it was very
Yeah, it's slow moving.
slow and
It's not a fast train.
wiggles a lot.
But it
So,
takes you through a nice,
what's it called, the high van pass,
like
I think.
a pass, through the jungle, and you can see the coast.
And then somehow we left late but arrived earlier than they said we would. I don't know how that worked because we didn't seem to be going fast. Then we got to Hue and it was like 6 o'clock, 6:30, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And we couldn't get a grab. We tried, I think we booked 3 grabs and they canceled 3 grabs on us.
And there were a lot of people standing at the train
Yeah.
station waiting.
And it was not raining, fortunately. So we decided, well, we'll start walking. And maybe if we get a little bit away from the train station, we might get better availability or it'll die down and we can find one. But the sidewalks turned out to be excellent.
It was cool that evening.
It was cool.
So it wasn't a bad walk. We just walked the whole thing.
Yeah.
20 minutes. Dragging a suitcase. 25.
Yeah. So it wasn't bad.
Yeah.
So then Monday we had arranged to take a tour of the DMZ zone in Vietnam. And it was a 12-hour day. It was
Starting at 7:30.
7:30. Talked to the tour guide the night before on WhatsApp. Be outside 7:30. We'll pick you up between 7:30 and 8. Okay. Being who we are, we leave our room at 7:20. We're outside, and a van pulls up at 7:30, like on the dot.
You even said, I think this is our van.
Well, because I saw a van turning in,
Yes.
and this
But
guy.
they don't put the names of the tours on the van.
This will be important later on. So the guy hops out.
He's very excited.
He's very excited. He said, "Are you waiting for the DMZ tour?" And we were like, "Yes." He's like, "Let's go."
We're ready.
Okay.
We were the last pickup in that van.
Which did trigger something to me a little bit off. You know, but you just let it go. You should always follow your intuition. So then, he's a very passionate and intense man.
Very animated and about the history. and,
Very, like pressured speech in a way, like
Yes, rapid.
rapid fire information. Very intense staring.
Yeah, trying to engage you.
Yeah.
You follow me?
So in the van, he passes around a sign-in sheet. And Jason signed in for both of us. So I didn't see the sign-in sheet. And I don't know if I would have caught anything at that point
Yeah, I
either.
didn't look at it. I just signed in.
So then my phone rings while we're driving, and it's WhatsApp, and I just silence it because I didn't, sometimes I get weird WhatsApp stuff. So I just silenced it. We're in a van, he's talking. And we go a little bit longer, and I didn't silence my phone, I just turned off the noise. And I get it again, and I'm like, that's weird. So I open WhatsApp, and it's the number from the person I talked to the night before. So I look at you and I said, I think we're on the wrong van. And you were kind of like, I don't know.
Yeah.
And then I'm thinking, is WhatsApp delayed? But then the message was like, we're on the way to your hotel, but we're already in a van. I'm like, is the message delayed? Which WhatsApp is instantaneous.
Pretty quick.
So I, at that point, like blackout. I have no idea what law was going on about.
Yeah, and
I'm sort of like panicking.
he's trying to keep you engaged, though, and just blah 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 blah.
And I'm thinking, what's gonna happen? I think we're on the wrong van. So finally, maybe 5 more minutes, my phone rings again, and it's that same number. So I answer. So I like duck down under the seat because he's
Very loud.
doing his tour, and I'm like, hello. And she's like, oh, we're gonna come to your hotel now, implying like they went and we weren't there. And I was like, I think we're on the wrong van. And she was like, what? And I said, we're on a van, but I think it's the wrong one. So she said, let me talk to your tour guide. So I had to be like, excuse me.
Right in
I
the middle
think
of
we're
his
on the wrong
story.
van. And he's looking at me like,
He did have a good story.
yeah, he was very good at it.
Yeah.
So she talks to him. They actually know each other because these tour guides do the same circuit. And we saw our first group several times during the day. So he talks to her, and then he looks quite stressed out, like he's rubbing his head. And he's like, it's okay. And we're like, all right. But he didn't really tell me what was happening, or us what was happening. And then he kept going on with the story. And then, the history of Vietnam from ancient times. And then there were 2 or 3 more phone calls from, I guess, our tour guide, the travel company. And at one point he's like telling us he might lose his job, but then he said, this is not your fault. And I'm thinking, well, not really my fault. I mean, normally I feel guilty about everything, but this I kind of, until that night when I couldn't sleep, I didn't feel super guilty about it.
Till that night.
Till that night when I couldn't sleep. So anyway, we ended up pulling over on the route.
Yeah, so apparently it's a bigger deal here. Like, you're registered with the tour company, and I guess there could be random police checks along the road.
Yeah,
I don't know.
When we got to the new van, she said, wear your seatbelts, they might pull us over. And
Yeah, so I guess it was kind of a bigger deal because he was kind of like, we could just trade at the first meeting point, but I guess just being on the road might have been a bigger deal.
We
so
don't know.
we had to switch, so that he pulled over and we had to sit there in that van for
10 or 15 minutes.
it was a long time.
It was very awkward.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
so then he's on the phone, they're waiting for the van to pull up, and it was like undercover switch, like we jump out, the other people
It
jump
was the
out.
DMZ switch.
Yeah. We get in the other van, everyone in that van sort of confused about what's happening.
But they had picked up the other people that were supposed to be in our van.
Yeah, so
So we did a swap. I guess we didn't say that.
our tour guide went back to our hotel and picked up
The
the
two
people that he didn't pick up.
The people that weren't downstairs at 7:30.
Like they should have
Although
been.
they may have been. They may have been inside.
We were outside,
Because
eager
we're,
beaver.
yes. Yeah. It was just a bad,
Comedy of errors.
yes.
But, I mean, they should have your name. And the first tour guide, the wrong tour guide, said his company didn't give him names. They just give him the hotel and the number of people. And if that's the case, that's really bad. And we signed it on a sheet of paper. And then he never told us the company name. So if the sign-in sheet maybe had the company name, I probably would have picked it up then. Anyway, we ended up on the right van eventually, and then we saw that guy a couple more times. You probably would have preferred him in the end.
I mean, he was engaging.
He was probably full of more information
Yes.
than the
As a
lady
matter
we
of
ended up
fact,
with.
We heard somebody on his tour.
The people that we traded with.
As we were walking by, he said, I only have a little bit to say or
I
something.
said, that was a short story.
Yeah.
And she said, for you, that was a very short
Yeah.
story.
So,
Those were the people that were originally on our
yeah.
van, so they probably were like, we want that other lady that just isn't really into it as
Yeah.
much. But
I mean,
was
she
good.
was. She was very good.
Yeah.
She knew her history also.
So we went to a citadel. We lit incense for the people that were lost in the battle. We went to an old military U.S. base out in the middle of nowhere. That took an hour and a half out of the way, both ways. We had,
Keeson.
yeah, Keeson. We had
Major battle.
we had lunch at
Somewhere out there.
someone's house. Then we went to the DMZ area, and then we went to the
Some tunnels.
I can't remember.
Tunnels where people lived during the bombings.
Yeah, which were really interesting.
Yeah, it was interesting.
Um,
But it was a long day. We got
Bin
back
Mock.
at like
at 7, after 7 p.m. I felt it was very interesting to hear the perspective of a Vietnamese person talking about the Vietnamese War.
American War.
As we are guests in the country of Vietnam, I probably won't go into too much about the interesting information we received, but yeah, it's a different perspective,
Mm-hmm.
and it was interesting to hear.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else to add to that?
No, it was and interesting to hear, because that morning was all the stuff that happened in our current events.
Yes.
And just to hear the guy, our first tour guide's take on all that.
He looked at us and he said, "Your country never learned."
Yeah.
And we were like,
Yeah.
so true.
Yeah.
With his intense
Yeah.
staring. He said Vietnam learned. But, so we got back, we thought it was gonna rain, we ordered room service, which normally we would never do, but it was like $13 to get a pizza and a salad.
Yeah. Didn't taste too bad.
And
Probably
it
better
didn't
than,
taste too good.
wasn't too good, but it was probably better than other room service I've had.
Never had it. It's the best room service we've ever
Yeah.
had, because we never get it.
We have before, I feel
I
like,
think
and
they
it's
deserve
usually
one.
pretty bad.
I don't
Nah.
Who knows? Then the next day we woke up and I had a cold. And Jason said, "You're not sick." Even though I woke up and couldn't breathe in the middle of the night. But anyway, I was kind of a little under the weather, I guess. Like, I didn't have the energy for what we were doing, which is what I really came here to do, which was to go to the Imperial City, which is old, but only like early 1800s old.
And a lot of it was destroyed during the war.
And it was the Nguyen family dynasty, and it was kind of, they had a residence, and then they had like temples that honored different people in the family, so it's a pretty large spread out complex with a moat around it.
It was
So
very
it's-
pretty, very nice.
Yeah, different,
It's like being in a park, sort of.
yeah,
Botanical park, with nice buildings.
yeah, and once you got away from the first couple buildings, there was no one around.
No crowd, but it was so hot.
It was very, very hot.
I mean, everybody's sweating. That's normal.
Yeah, I mean, everyone just has a sheen.
Wet shirts.
And if you find a fan, there's like a line to stand in front of it. So we probably only stayed maybe 3 hours.
Yeah, I mean, it's really all you can do with the heat.
Yeah.
Just unless you're like,
And we didn't sign up for a tour because, I mean, it probably would have been nice, but we were kind of toured out from the
yeah,
day
I
before.
think the day before, it'd be tough to do 2 tours back to back.
Yeah. So I feel like we saw, there are a lot of tombs and monuments further out. You could buy like a combo ticket, but we knew we didn't have enough time to do that. But and we came back and we were like, it might rain, but we're gonna go to dinner, and I could borrow an umbrella from the desk at our hotel because we're kind of in a fancy-ish hotel.
Mm-hmm.
And we go to a restaurant. It was really, really good, which I didn't have high hopes for Vietnamese food, and I was pleasantly surprised.
Mm-hmm. It was very good.
But we had, what did we eat the first night? Oh, the
Squid.
first night we went to, that Nina's place.
Yeah,
We both had tofu, and it was,
it was standard.
so we went to this restaurant, it was excellent, and we have the big umbrella, and as we're there, it starts
Or in the rain.
pouring, like intense. And as we're sitting there, I see the road flooding on our side, not the other side, to the point where the water was now over the curb. The water was up on the first step
Everybody that was walking by was in the road,
in the road.
which is not unusual.
Yeah,
but-
in the middle of
but
the
they
road.
were in the middle of the road, right?
So at this point, we're like, we're in tennis shoes. Well, no, you wore your
Flip-flops.
flip-flops. My sandals are Clark's, so
Yeah.
they're kind of spongy, and they're leather. They would absorb water just as much as tennis shoes, so I wore my tennis shoes. And I'm like, how are we getting out of here? And we watched two men leave in tennis shoes, and the water was
Ankles.
ankles. So the plan was, we're gonna call a grab because it's still raining, letting up. I took my shoes off, and I was gonna walk through the flood in my socks to the other side of the street to get the grab. And the woman at the restaurant, she was like, do you want to borrow my shoes to walk across? And that was very nice. And I said, no, it's okay, this will work. And she's like, do you want bags for your feet? And I was like, oh, I think I do. So she got these two giant plastic bags. I tied them up around my knees. And I didn't put my shoes back on at that point. I still thought they might get wet. So I walked across the street with plastic bags on my feet.
You made it.
And my feet were dry.
Hmm.
And then we called a grab. And went back to our hotel. And then, did we go back out that evening after it stopped raining? We did.
I
That was
think so.
kind of early in the afternoon.
Yeah.
So we went to the grocery store to get some snacks, and we ended up at a big grocery store that had like home goods and clothes, and I bought a pair of shoes that can now walk in flooded streets
Mm-hmm.
because the rain for our the next 6 days, it looks like it's going to rain every day.
Yeah.
So that was good.
And when you're traveling, you usually only have one pair of tennis shoes.
Yeah.
At least we do.
And then you have wet shoes.
And then you have wet shoes, and that kind of stinks.
And then my sandals that I have are really only good for non-wet days.
Yep.
And those shoes are like, if the ground is wet, it makes the ground like ice.
Very
I
slick.
really need to get different shoes.
I've said it over and over.
I know. I have to like hang on to them because a lot of the places that, if it has a sidewalk, it's kind of like a stone, like a granite almost.
Mm.
I don't know what it is. It's slippery when it's wet. And then yesterday, we slept in till like 8:15, and we just hung out till like noon because it was on
Rainy.
and off rainy. And we went to a little shop. When we were coming back from the restaurant, there's a little store across the street, and I saw the woman hanging up things on the ceiling, and they were different colors in a bag, and I was like, I think she has ponchos. So we were gonna go over and get ponchos that night, but the store was closed. So we went over, we got our ponchos.
She really was hanging them up, huh?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. Because we asked that morning,
Yeah.
where can we get a poncho? And the guy said a rain jacket. And we're like, yeah. And he was telling us to go to the local market. So I think he was actually telling us where to buy a jacket.
Yeah.
And we wanted like,
Cheap poncho.
well, I went like full body. So
Yeah.
the poncho comes down to nearly my ankles.
Yeah.
So for less than $4, we got our two ponchos. So we went out and walked.
Which is actually kind of expensive. I mean, it is.
Well, we
for
saw
here,
them in
yeah.
the store, yeah, they were a little bit cheaper, but I mean, they have elastic, they have a drawstring on the hood, so I like it.
Mm-hmm.
So we put them on and we just walked yesterday. So Hue is on the river, and I don't know how long that river walkway goes, but probably miles and miles. So we just walked along the river.
And we're the only ones on it.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, pretty much.
Lady in the tourist boat was yelling from the middle of the river, do you want to ride? It's
Because it
this
was
much."
raining. It was raining too, though. So I think they had a lack of tourists.
Yeah.
I guess she was going to turn around their boat and come back to shore.
We're like, no, thank you. She kept
But
going.
the price was going down, I think. She was holding up her hands.
So then it started kind of picking up rain a little bit more, so we did come back. And then we went back to that same restaurant that was so good the night before. And you got duck.
Squid the first night, duck the second night.
I got tofu.
It was really good.
And then we just walked around after dinner, and the town seems really nice. I don't know, I'm looking out the window, I can see 2 bridges that way, and I know there are at least 2 that way. Sidewalks are excellent. It's clean. It's fairly quiet. There is more honking here with the scooter, like alerting scooters. I don't know, it's the weirdest thing.
Commonly known in Vietnam, right?
Yeah, we knew the honking would increase.
Yeah, they do a lot of honking.
But the
Honking
town
for passing somebody, honking for.
Well, even in the van we were in, so we were on like a highway, and there is almost like a scooter lane,
Yeah.
like a tiny little lane, and then a regular lane, and there would be a scooter, and it's a divided highway, so there's a tall median, you can't make a left turn, and they would be in the little scooter lane, and our van driver would be in our lane, but he'd have to beep every time he passed him. So it's not like they're gonna turn left in front of him.
It's strange, yeah. Or like if you saw somebody on the side of the road, we saw a guy kind of walking towards his truck,
Yeah,
and he had to honk at that guy.
like he's gonna run out in the road.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just we wondered how long their horns last for.
Yeah, I was like, can you replace a horn? But otherwise, I think the town's really nice. I wish we had more time here because there are things further out. We just heard in the elevator today that there are hot springs somewhere. So I would come back here.
Yeah, it's very nice.
I think we could have easily stayed a week.
People are very friendly.
Yeah.
It's,
It's humid, so my hair's obviously a little bit crazy. But I kind of wish in hindsight, I would have come here longer and knocked off a bunch of time at Phnom Penh. And we're having the fun conversations of how and when we're gonna be able to get back to the United States, because our dear leader, the President of Peace, has started a war, and we need to travel through the Middle East to get home. So I don't know when. Hal is probably going to be spending $3,000 to $5,000 plus probably to reroute. Everything's sort of booked. All the travel forms I'm in, like no one can get a flight out for at least 2 to 3 weeks at this point, so we're not set to leave till the 31st. But I have a feeling we're probably going to be delayed beyond that, leaving. We will be back in Thailand, so we'll have a 60-day visa. But just trying to figure out, we can go on a Chinese airline because it will fly through like Russian airspace. You can go on Turkish Airlines, Thai Airlines. I don't know what route they take. But finding those flights, like what was the flight from Bangkok to Atlanta? The 2 days I looked, they only had business class available, and it was $6,000 something a ticket. So we will probably be staying here or in Thailand longer than anticipated,
Let's
unless
see.
they work out something
Yeah.
in the next few weeks.
It's only going to be 4 weeks, so.
Yeah. We cleared right up, no problem. But we've decided if we're going to do that, we will leave Bangkok and probably go to a beach town that will be less expensive and less noisy. So I haven't figured out what we're doing yet. You can book refundable tickets, but then those end up costing way more. I don't know.
Work in progress.
Work in progress, which also now delays planning our spring or summer trip because we don't know when now we're going to get home from this trip. So, the joys of
Yep.
travel.
It's better than going to work.
It's better going to work. And fortunately, we aren't the people that have jobs that we have to get back to.
Yeah.
And we have our house, but we can figure that out.
Yep.
So it'll be interesting to work on that as the next few weeks go by.
Yep.
Yay!
Okay.
Thanks for listening.
Bye.
Bye.